Have you ever had an idea that was so clear it was like a 3D movie? Have you ever told a friend about the idea and they told you, wow, if you could only make that into a business, you would be rich? Sound familiar? Welcome to Knowledge to Currency. I'm your host, Senator Porter, with my co-host, Roosevelt Williams III, and we're here to help you take action. This is free information. We only ask one thing: build a strong foundation and mindset. We have insight to help you get started. Most of us just need a push. Hey, welcome to Knowledge to Currency. This is Senator Porter, and
I'm Roosevelt Williams III.
And we have Rudy Villareal.
Close enough.
Say it for me.
Villareal.
My bad.
That's right. It's all good.
And he's the CEO of Charging Zoo. How are you today?
Good. Busy.
Good.
But busy's good.
I think you're our first Filipino guest. So shout out to all our Filipino people.
Absolutely.
All right.
And it's timing as well. Yeah. You know, if I'm not mistaken, help me out. I believe is it Asian Pacific Islander month?
Yeah, it is.
You know what I mean? So
it
big
is.
love, man.
That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah. Big
Solid,
love, man.
you know
Salute,
that.
man.
That's
big
right.
love.
That's
big
right.
Love.
That's right.
And so, as you know, this is Knowledge to Currency. We try to inspire our people to be entrepreneurs. And you don't necessarily have to quit your 9 to 5, but maybe work on something in the background to help you get that financial freedom that you need. And you are somebody that's definitely doing more than one thing. and let's kind of talk about your path. Now, you're a native of San Diego, right?
That's right. Went to Catholic schools here in San Diego. Then left to go to college in Pomona.
Mm-hmm.
And then went to go play baseball. Went to go sit the bench in the minors for a couple of seasons.
But for the Padres, though, right?
Yeah.
Oh, is that right?
Padres organization, yeah.
Okay. Learn something every day.
That's right.
He got a big ties with
I
the
didn't really
Padres.
go very far.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, you went
but I
farther
had
than I
fun.
did.
I
You
had
went
fun.
farther than I did. So, big salute.
Yeah.
What position by?
I was a shortstop.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, and you play basketball too, right?
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, big time basketball player.
So you're athletic. You got an arch in your foot.
I
You're
do.
athletic. Okay, see,
I do.
I'm flat-footed. I didn't go that far,
Oh, okay.
but that's right. What position in basketball?
Point.
Here. Oh, there. I can see you being a point guard.
Yep.
Dribbles. Okay.
Yep.
Listen.
I wasn't allowed to shoot back then.
I hear you.
Yeah, it's a lot different now.
Right?
Can't shoot. You
Back
can't
then, it
shoot
was
back
really
then.
structured, right?
Yeah, they throw it to the big man.
The one guard's not allowed to shoot. Big man's not allowed to dribble.
Right.
It's different now.
Way different game today. And then after you got out of college, you were on the road to be an attorney, right?
Right. Decided not to go that way. Went ahead and got my securities licenses and went into financial services.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been an entrepreneur basically most of my life. I had a couple of experiences in corporate America, which actually pushed me away from corporate America.
Why is that?
So one of the jobs I had was with General Dynamics here in San Diego.
Wow.
Right when they got sold to Martin Marietta Launch Systems. And so my degree is finance real estate law. So my responsibility was to figure out what to do with the real estate.
Okay.
Sell it, knock it down, build something else, buy out people's leases. But because I was part of that group, I saw the worst of corporate America. Well, the best of corporate America to see a company be so successful, right?
Sure.
But the worst of corporate America is where, the money kind of is a priority over the people.
Sure.
And I saw people very upset, worked for General Dynamics for 30 years and weren't offered a position with a new company, got early retirement, forced into early retirement. And these people were loyal to the company and unfortunately the numbers didn't match them getting an offer to the next company.
It's interesting. So my W-2 job, I'm a corporate recruiter. And sometimes you'll talk to someone, let's say they've been at a company 7, 8 years. And because the company I work for, I look at other companies and how they stack up versus where I work. And they won't even have a conversation or anything with you when you could actually help double their income. And they're won't even give you a chance to speak to them. And then, like you said, something will change with the market. And now they'll start to call you and then now you can't hire them.
Right.
And it's what I learned is anybody out there, if you are in corporate America, always keep your options open to better opportunities.
Right.
And don't necessarily be married to a job for 25 years or 30 years because you're basically limiting your opportunity to make more money through that. Because if you leave that company and go to another company, you get an income bump versus you just get a little, 5% raise or 2% raise.
And at the same time, no matter how loyal you are to the company, in the quarterly report, you're listed in manpower.
That's true.
And so when the bottom line they've got to trim some expenses, one of the first places they look is, hey, can we combine these two jobs? And that was one of the things that I had to do too a couple of times in my other jobs. Mm-hmm. Can I combine these two jobs? Because if I can combine these two jobs, then I can make the margin better. Mm. And that's corporate America. That's just the reality of it, so. And
you can't blame them, but at the same time, you got to understand where you stand in that, or where you sit in that scenario.
Right. So absolutely.
When you were going to be an attorney you're studying for, what type of attorney were you looking to be?
Well, so I wasn't going to be one. That wasn't the goal anyway. It was just to have the knowledge so that when I was in a corporate setting,
you knew the rights.
They knew not to let's just get right to the point and not play games, because let's get the right contracts in place and things like that. It helped me a lot with that job, especially, you know what I mean, when we're negotiating to buy out leases and we're negotiating to sell properties and things like that. That the knowledge of the contract law and the language and contracts, it played a big part in that job. They actually wanted me to go to Denver. Mm-hmm. They offered me a position in Denver with Martin Marietta. My wife and I discussed it for a full 45 seconds. We're gonna leave San Diego for Denver? Probably not. Probably not. That was a long 45 seconds.
So then from there you went to do insurance?
Yeah, so I was in financial services for a long time. I actually went in to a multi-level marketing company.
Okay.
Yeah, I got my life insurance license so early that there wasn't a 52-hour class. That's how long. That's when I first got my life insurance license.
Okay.
And then I went to work for an MLM company, and then in the interim, I had my real estate license. So when the mortgage boom happened in the early 2000s, and our office was doing a lot of business, I transitioned from financial services to mortgages. Like, it was just the natural flow of things, and mortgage boom happened, and then left financial services and just concentrated on real estate. Investing in real estate, and then a couple of things happen. You know how life happens. You go ups and downs, and you got to rebuild yourself. So a couple of things happen in that sense. But I had some good advice a long time ago, and he said, Rudy, a good mentor of mine said, Rudy, the best place to put your efforts is where the government's putting their efforts.
Right.
So then when I saw the government was given a 30% tax credit for solar, mm-hmm. That's free money.
Right.
And that's so that I went into solar. And so I've been in solar for about 11 years. And okay. That's just been my kind of base philosophy, is where the government's investing their efforts is probably a good place for me to invest my efforts. You know what I mean? And
sure.
When COVID happened and the government was reimbursing almost $200 a test, mm-hmm. found a lab to invested in the lab.
For COVID?
For COVID.
Okay.
And then now, where we are now, as the government pushes for these EV sales without the infrastructure to charge, mm-hmm. the government is throwing a lot of money into the EV charging world. And so here we are. And this is probably the most money that I've seen thrown at any type of project by the government, in my lifetime. A lot of people I talked to, they said, this is really comparable to when they built the railroad. Sure. So when they built the railroad, the government didn't have money to build the railroad. They enticed these industry leaders to build the railroad, and then they gave them tax incentives, tax cuts, rebates. And so these families back then, the wealthy families in industry, they built the railroad, and then they owned the railroad. Even though the government gave them back a lot of the money they spent, they owned the railroad. These were the first billionaires in the United States. And I really think there's opportunity in EV charging. Very similar. Maybe not a billionaire from zero.
Sure.
But there'll be some very successful companies who figure out how to solve this problem, because right now the government, especially the state of California, they find themselves behind the 8 ball right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
So let's
2035.
talk about that.
2035, every car manufacturer's got to sell
EV
100% EV, either hybrid or full.
Mm-hmm.
No petroleum gas cars, no ICE cars. They're pushing for that without the infrastructure to charge.
So let's talk about the infrastructure. So now, as we kind of discussed, if you live in a building, there's only X amount of charging stations,
Right.
and you want to change that.
Right. So in discussions with a lot of the city managers, their focus is to kind of match Tesla.
Right.
Tesla, in their minds, is the example to follow, the supercharging network for Tesla. However, I'm a numbers guy. The numbers don't match. You know, you got 40 million people in California, and even if it's a 20% adoption rate, that's what, 8 million people?
Sure.
Yeah, 8 million people sharing 50 plugs at a time.
Right.
It's not going to work.
Not going to work.
It's not going to work. It's going to cause traffic jams. It's going to cause people what they call range anxiety. Right, you're running out of miles.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also going to cause a problem of, hey, too many people are charging, and it's going to cause a brownout. And so there are a few things that our group has found that could potentially solve those problems, right? Because when you have almost 50% of the population living in multi-resident complexes, where they've got 200 doors in an apartment building, 250 doors in a condo complex, they've got assigned parking. But the way the model right now is they'll take 5 out of the 10 visitor parking spaces and put 5 charging stations in there.
For 200 people.
Right now it may work. There's only 20 people with EVs. Next year there'll be 40. The following year there'll be 100. And
Right.
you only have 5 chargers. That's your
Right.
plan. I think the gaping hole is in that sector. And so our plan is to go in there and be able to install individual chargers in individual parking spaces.
Nice.
Yeah, and then in that sense also kind of even out the pull, because now we can control when people charge, right? If all 3 of us, let's say 50 people plug in at 5:30 in an apartment complex, and all of them turn on at the same time, there's a good chance in the summer that's going to black everybody out because everybody's got their AC on.
Sure.
So we're developing systems to where our chargers will be so smart that they'll know, hey, this guy plugs in at 5, but he leaves at 7 o'clock in the morning. So we know we don't need to turn on his charger right now. We can turn on his charger at 1 o'clock. Unless he says, okay, I got to go to dinner, I need an extra 50 miles, then the smart charger will charge it. But that's one of the other problems that we're attempting to solve for the local governments is the pull on the grid. I had an SDG&E guy tell me that the San Diego grid was designed for 1 TV, 1 refrigerator, and 1 toaster.
Yeah, nobody's like that anymore.
Now there's 5 TVs, 3 computers,
Yep.
2 refrigerators now, and then 2 electric cars now plugging in at a house. And the grid wasn't designed for that. So there's got to be some sort of solution. And it's too much of a task to rebuild the grid, right?
Sure.
So one of the solutions is a software solution, a way to manage the pool at certain times, have cars that are charge when everyone's sleeping and not using the refrigerator, not using the electric stove, things like that. So we're pretty excited, man. This is probably one of the most exciting project I ever took on. I'll stay up at night in my bed. Oh, we could do that. Oh, we could do that.
Yeah, I'm definitely inspired. I'm over here listening and learning. My philosophy is what next and how fast. And I've been identifying areas in the low moderate income community that are behind times. That have blight, that have LED lights. That are not as modern. And these places could use. Needs to become a smart city.
That's right.
They need to upgrade, and so there's a lot of opportunity. And one thing that you don't even know about me is that I work with a lot of unions, and actually have connections with individuals that provide and actually set up solar. And I've already identified certain areas like the four corners of life. It used to be called the four corners of death. We've been going in, uplifting that community, but also we don't want them to fall behind in technology. We want to modernize that intersection, and they're actually open to actually putting solar panels on their buildings and having these EV chargers at this potential intersection that had a negative connotation will help really uplift the whole community, make it like a smart community. It'll help them, it'll help the culture out. So just inspired by your story and just being that visionary. What's his name? Cornelius Vanderbilt. You know how you use the analogy as the railroad manifest destiny.
That's right.
With that EV charging system. So I'm over here just mind blown, man. Definitely inspired by your story. And I also see you as I just like, how you may have started out in sports and, and got innovative in different career fields. Remind me of like a Percy Miller, multiple lifestyles and lives here. So you definitely somebody to listen and learn from.
Right. And not everybody has to take that path. I have 5 kids, and I have family members who aren't entrepreneurs. I think there are less entrepreneurs in my family than there are 9 to 5 people. I think that's okay too. I think that's fine. That's the path people choose. But I chose not because I'd rather exchange effort for compensation.
Right.
Right. A side story. I hired a friend of mine's daughter a month and a half ago now, and went through the interview and hired her, showed her the ropes, and this is for solar. And she calls me about 2 days later. She calls me Uncle Rudy. She said, Uncle Rudy, I don't think the job's for me. I said, why? She goes, well, it's completely performance-based. That's all I needed to hear. You know what I mean?
Right, absolutely.
And so, but that's okay. It's not everyone is in that path. But your show's not about that. But your show's about compensation for effort, right? So knowledge to currency. But not everybody has to take that path. Not everybody wants to take that path. But like you said, Roosevelt, that people need to be inspired by us as well, because there are people that are stuck looking for something to take them to the next level. Like what Brother Nakia said, he said, when you're in corporate America, there's a ceiling.
Right.
Like you can't make more than the CEO.
Right.
There's no way unless you become the CEO.
Right.
Right. I think building our own opportunity, just like you said, the Vanderbilts were able to do. I think you don't have to do it full time.
Right.
Right. You can find something to do on the side, and that's actually one of the things that we're building is our sales force is open. Basically, for the multi-resident charging solution, we're recruiting everyone and anyone because it can create a residual income for somebody that's willing to put themselves out there part-time, full-time, or however they want to do it. A residual income that could last generations. Our attorneys are developing contracts that if you contract a building with us and you have 100 people charging, that 100 people will create a residual income for you that you can will to your kids. That as long as there's still people charging in that building, the contract will say that you can will that income to your kids.
We acknowledge the currency. They'll go immediately going from kids to being heirs.
Correct.
They get an inheritance immediately.
There's a difference between wealth and legacy.
Right.
Wealth can come and go. There's a lot of people that made it and then lost it.
Right.
Sports is a good example. But then there's there's a few like the Jordans that create a legacy that will never go away.
Right.
You know.
Absolutely. And I use that term in that family on purpose because the Vanderbilts had it and lost it. It's like even having a legacy trust. This is knowledge of currency where we need to go from good to being great, and be able to pass it on for future generations. And so I like how you and your team, the visionaries,
right,
are even the visionary. Did you catch that one?
I hear it.
Just putting that plan in place and providing opportunities, because with opportunity comes a limited amount of success. So,
correct.
See that.
And I've always known that with all my effort, as good as I think I am, or as good as whoever thinks I am, I can only go certain a certain distance. I can only do so much.
Right.
And just like Dale Carnegie said, you know, I'd rather have 1% of 100 people than 100% of myself.
Sure.
Because now I control my time. I just duplicate myself. And I think that in any organization, I think Charging Zoo, that's one of our philosophies, is that I want to create a lot of successful people in Charging Zoo. My job is to create 100, 1,000 successful people, because then I'll be successful by default, right? And I always tell my sales guys, and it's a recruiting model. I say, you know, there's one way for you to actually get that Ferrari that you want, because in life, when you're going through life, sometimes things don't work out, and you're like, you know what? I may not be able to afford that Ferrari. I'll settle for the Benz, right? So I'll settle for the Mercedes. But when you have a team, you have no right to downgrade their goals, right? So when you hire a team and your teammate says, Rudy, you know, Roosevelt tells me, Rudy, I want a Mercedes. You know, I don't have the right to say, Roosevelt, I'm sorry, you know, I don't think we can get the Mercedes. I think you just need to settle for a Lexus, you know. But if you put your trust in me and I tell you that we're going to hit goals, I can't downgrade your goals now. I'm going to do everything I can to get you that Mercedes.
Yes, sir. So as me and the listeners that have teams in the morning, the pep talk, you know, what's the atmosphere like? How do you get them excited? How do you get them ready to run through a brick wall before you send them out there to go sell? You know, what are some of your, for example, you know, when I used to be in the atmosphere room and I used to sell Obama phones, I'm talking about we used to crank up the music on a techno, jump around, whoa, get excited. We used to have positive affirmations on the wall. We used to use acronyms like a rehash. Remember, everyone has a cell hidden. We used to have to keep excited. Make sure we keep our positive mental attitude, because if you're going to these doors and you get 9 no's, that yes is coming. But how do you stay encouraged? You know, how do you keep your team motivated and inspired? Because some individuals, they want that Bentley, but they're selling for the Chrysler 300.
Right.
How do you keep your team excited?
Well, it's all system-based, right? So it's all system-based, and if you want to do 1 meeting a week, 3 meetings a week, morning energy call, like you said, you got to stay consistent. So you got to stay consistent. I've been in organizations where, you know, they had 3 meetings, 2 during the week and then 1 on Saturday. And I have been in organizations where they had the morning energy call. But when they miss, they say, oh, I'll do an energy call every Tuesday, Thursday, and then the next week you only did it Thursday, and the next week you only did it Tuesday, and the next week you didn't even do any of them. Then then the people that are following you and your team, they're not going to fall into your system, because you have to have consistency. It's almost not the content of the call and the content of the meeting is almost secondary to your follow through of running the system, because the system will eventually work, right? If it's a good system. Now, a bad system is not going to work. I mean, right? We have to agree. So if you're trying to motivate people, especially in sales, you got to take a proven system and duplicate it. And you can't diverge from it, and you can't take stuff out unless you know it's an improvement, right? But you got to stay consistent, because if you don't, in my experience, those wake-up calls, those energy calls, those meetings, they're not going to have as much effect. But at the same time, we all have to, as leaders, as much as we care about all 50 people that we recruit, have to accept the fact that not all 50 are going to do what they say they're going to do.
Right.
Absolutely. You bullseye. Some will, some won't. So what? Who's next?
Next.
Okay. And with the system, that's like McDonald's. They got their system duplicated all over the world. And they, with consistency is the key to the combination. And sometimes you got to be there by yourself.
Correct.
I done been on Fortune 500 Friday calls, just me and my other partner. We looking at each other on the Zoom. However, now we have 18 people that's joining on us on a consistent basis. We're sharing great content, and it's working. So, yeah, that consistency is the key to the combination.
The consistency is one of the keys. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I had a question about Charging Zoo. So let's say I owned a complex. What would be the reason why I should let you bring the charges into my complex?
The current model is flawed, in my opinion. The current model is a revenue share model where you, as a property manager, have to pay for everything.
Right.
And then me, as the operator, I maintain the software, maintain the payment system, and then we do a revenue share.
Okay.
Right? But if you look at how much these charging machines actually make per day, the cost versus the return on investment, it doesn't really make sense if you're just doing 5.
Sure.
Right? Because on average to install these level 2 chargers, let's just say let's give them like a $10,000 a charger average. And that's actually the average right now. So you spend $50,000 on 5 machines. Every month you make $20.
Sure.
So right? 30 days, 12 months, then you make $240, right? And you spent $10,000 for that machine. That's where I think it's flawed, because now you're putting the onus on the business on the business owner, the building owner, and they're only doing 5. The only way to make money in this industry, and it's evident in all the financials of the current companies. You look at ChargePoint and Blink. ChargePoint and Blink guys are watching. I apologize for putting this out, but they've had negative EBITDA for 7 years.
Sure.
I mean, any normal business or business manager sees I've got negative EBITDA, I might say I'm doing something wrong.
Right.
But what they're doing is they're waiting to see the adoption rate go up, and they're hoping that there'll be more and more EVs so that they'll make that up. But they haven't looked into their model at all, and they think it's just we just have to increase the amount of chargers, yeah. Right? But what they fail to analyze is how are these complexes that you're putting, 5, 10 chargers in, even the commercial complexes, how are you going to manage that when there are 5 million EVs? Now, are you going to have 50 chargers in front of Lowe's? Are you going to have 100 chargers in front of Lowe's to accommodate all those other people that own EVs? Or are you going to stay at 10? Now, you can go to 100 chargers in front of Lowe's, but what does that do to Lowe's if they own the machines? Now they got to hire somebody. Now they got to have a separate department, an EV charger department.
Right.
And that's the flaw in the model. Moving forward, there's no sustainability to that model, at least in my opinion. What do I know? I'm new, right? Mm-hmm. But as I analyze it, that's the flaw. I believe it is a volume play, but you don't leave the volume play to the business owner. He's got limited spaces. That's why Charging Zoo, we buy the machine, we install it, and it's our volume play. I'll put 15 in yours, I'll put 15 in Roosevelt's, I'll put 15 in his building, and 15 in his building. Now I've got the volume play, and the onus isn't on you anymore to make money on your chargers. And that's a big expense for a business that's probably still trying to stay afloat after COVID.
Peace of mind.
Right?
It's peace of mind.
Yeah, and then we manage it, we repair it. So if you're a building owner, I take the responsibility off of you for charging. But what a great thing for somebody that owns a 250-door apartment complex here in downtown San Diego. Hey, if you rent with us, I can put a charger, I can put an EV charger in your parking space at no cost. Mm.
Yeah.
Next door doesn't offer that, and I have an EV, I'm renting with you. Mm.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So that's the next step. Again, the industry's so new that every day we figure out a better way to do something, or we figure out, yeah, that's not really what we should do. It's just so new. Nobody really knows how it's going to wind up working.
Sure.
And that's going to take a few years. But in our analysis, I think we're doing a few things correctly, and I know that's not going to be perfect. But we're willing to change direction if need be. Make an adjustment here and there, and pivot. Right. That's an important entrepreneur term.
Yeah.
If you're not willing to pivot, you'll die.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. If you're not willing to pivot.
So then, for your sales reps, how does that work? If they wanted to work with you, and are you looking for people at the moment?
Yeah. It's basically an open door hiring. We've recruited kids right out of college already. Mostly our recruiting sessions have been with professionals, insurance agents, real estate agents, entrepreneurs. Some of them are full-time employees. They want to do this part-time on the weekend and see if they can create a residual income. We have a number of people that, Rudy, I just want to generate $500 a month.
Right.
And then when they generate the $500 a month, then that's all they want. And that's okay too. right? Because that'll give them what they want. They'll reach their goal, and then as we get more and more accounts, then that'll help us reach our goal. So we do have an open hiring policy. There's no minimum. We provide full training. There's no minimum. You can even team build. You can even build a brokerage within the company to where when you learn the ropes and you go up in commission scale, you can hire someone in entry level and you make the broker margin or the broker gap, right? So that's a team building. That's a team building opportunity. And then even when you're at the top, so I pay out 100% of the commission. Even to me, I'm a commission guy in the company, right? So I have the top commission. So everyone I hire, I have a margin, but I'm still in the commission pool. I'm not a salary person. I'm still in the commission pool. So I'm still have to motivate. I still have to promote, still have to recruit, but I want to lead that way. I want to lead by that example, right? So I'll be I have the top contract, but I'm still part of the commission. So I pay 100% of the commission out. Nice. The company doesn't keep any of the residual income.
What's the scoreboard looking like? Your tracker. I know you have some place where you can say, how you can meet your metrics. How's that looking?
We haven't really set metrics yet, Roosevelt, only because it's just still so new.
Okay.
But I'll tell you this: if we did a Zoom with 20 people, we recruit about 18 of them.
Nice. No, yes, I could definitely, feel how you don't push people, you attract people, how you pull them.
Right.
And in sales, that's definitely a technique.
And in MLM, some people say, Rudy, don't say MLM. People don't like MLM.
Right.
But that's the brokerage system.
Yeah.
The real estate industry is built on MLM.
Right.
The insurance industry is built on MLM. It's the brokerage system. But in MLM, what people forget is that you're not selling a product anymore, right? When I was insurance, I recruited a lot of people, but in the beginning I couldn't because I was trying to sell insurance. But then a mentor said, "Don't sell insurance, sell the dream," right? So when I started to learn how to sell the dream, when I started to learn how to sell the opportunity,
right,
that's when I started to sell insurance. I think everything's that way. Even charging zoo, I believe that I will capture more high-rise complexes if I sell the opportunity rather than calling all the business building managers and as many as I can. I can go hire a call center right now and call all the building managers, but what's that going to do? You know what's going to sell a complex is going to be somebody that lives in that complex. You know how he's going to sell it? I'm going to recruit him someday. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I really don't even see it as selling. It really is just offering an opportunity.
Correct.
It's offering opportunity. Like this is, be cutting edge.
That's right.
Absolutely.
I mean, with MLM, it has its, I guess, good and bad stories, but that's any industry, mortgages, anything that you can think of. But I believe if you go into industry and you learn something out of it, even if you didn't make money, you learn how to talk to people, you learn how business is structured. You like Avon or Mary Kay, like those are MLM, and I don't think they're killing people or anything.
No.
So it's some people just don't like sales. Like some people are just against sales. And,
absolutely.
But I feel that those companies, especially when you're young, I remember being like 17 when I first heard of one, and just reading and kind of getting my brain to think is what that did for me. I didn't make any money. But I understood, like, okay, this is how you schedule a meeting. This is how you ask someone for the business. This is how you continue to work. Even when people say no, you keep going to the next person. And then that propelled me to do good in the mortgage industry and to become a better sales representative.
Absolutely. I think I learned most of my business acumen from MLM.
Right.
I learned most of my presentation abilities. I learned a lot of my interviewing skills in the MLM industry. Definitely the product knowledge. When you're in the MLM industry, you almost have to learn on your own what you're selling, and those things are intangible.
Right.
Those things are intangible. Even if you go from an MLM opportunity to a 9-to-5, the skills that you learn in an MLM translate to a lot of jobs, especially a management job, supervisor job, because now you know how to motivate people. You know how to talk to people to find their why buttons, right? You want to know what their WHY button is, right?
Right.
And that's a lot of psychology that the MLM industry provides.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. I agree. And I just feel that some of the worst jobs I ever had, I either met a great person or got a lesson from it. So it wasn't like it was all a loss.
Right. Right.
And I absolutely agree. Multi-level marketing really helped me find out who I really was. I had to learn how to be resilient. And the multi-level marketing program that I was in had me on 12-day shifts, literally.
Oh, really?
6 a.m., 6 p.m., wife waiting on me. Absolutely. That's the reason probably why I got flat feet, because I was on my feet all day. However, I had to go through, and I developed so much when, after I overcame that situation. I still use those techniques to keep my my PMA and to be able to stay encouraged and to encourage others. It'd be a time, man, where it'd be I started at 6 o'clock. Well, 6 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock I'm out there pushing the product. 1 o'clock I don't have no sales. But check this out, 1:30 it start clicking because I'm able to hone into those skills. And one thing it also taught me how to identify a person's characteristics, so I can know how to pitch them. So meeting all these individuals, now I know how to pivot, to the person. I know how to tailor my spiel. And it also taught me patience. And in business, patience is power.
Absolutely. So then what's your vision for the company? Because it's obviously starting in California. Do you see it going national?
Absolutely. We already have an opportunity in Florida that came up yesterday.
Nice.
And we closed the deal today. And so
congratulations.
Thank you. The opportunity for EV charging is nationwide.
Sure.
People are telling me, once a Republican president is back in office, that's not going to be a push. I don't think so. I think the push is gonna continue. It may not be as aggressive. California will probably be extra aggressive if we get a Republican president in office. Seems like our governor just wants to do things in spite of the
person in office.
Right. But the opportunity that I believe, like moving forward for this company, my vision is to build it to where we are a leader in the areas that we influence. Like, we may not be a national company. We may just be a Southern California, Florida, Texas company. To say that I could be a national company, I want to build California first, and then Florida next, Texas after that. It could completely wind up being a national company. Sure. But I believe that if I can take this company and create a positive EBITDA, pay out commissions and change lives, and then later on, if and when we have a lot of production, then some other companies will have to look at us and say, hey, those people are kind of taking our lunch.
Sure.
Hey, Rudy, for our viewers that don't know what an EBITDA is, may you please
It's
share?
the income before taxes and depreciation. Yeah, so before you deduct taxes and depreciation, that's what, like, when people analyze your income, that's how they analyze your income, is your EBITDA. Yeah.
Did you get
that? Now, for the folks that aren't aware of, like, the benefits of having an EV car, the cost to run it, and things like that, let's kind of go through, because you have a couple EV cars. How much does it cost you normally to, like, charge it versus when you had a gas car and stuff like that?
Well, when I had a gas car, I always drove a V8.
Right.
Oh, man.
Mm-hmm.
So how much?
I was paying $450 to $500
a month
when the gas prices weren't $5.50 and $6.
Okay.
And then when I started charging my electric vehicle, I added approximately $200 a month to my electric bill.
For how many cars?
Well, just for my car. I'm just saying for a single car, right? So I go from a $450 to $500 a month gas bill to a $200 a month electric bill.
Okay, so it cut your cost in half.
Well, of course, in the charging and driving, electric car was much more expensive than if I would have bought a gas car.
Okay.
Right? But the payback time, I probably break even now. And at the same time, the state of California, the federal government, they give you incentives. Mm-hmm. If you go to drivecleancalifornia.gov, driveclean.ca.gov, and you put in your zip code, and it'll give you all these incentives that are available for solar, for EV charging at your home, to buy an EV car, to buy a clean emissions car. There's a bunch of incentives that basically are pushing people towards the purchase of an EV. If you go on YouTube and Instagram, there are a lot of these guys that have so much knowledge that they can buy an EV car and get half of it back in incentives.
Nice. And what about the maintenance compared to a regular car?
About 5%, meaning you don't do as much maintenance on an EV car.
Okay.
Yeah, you still buy the normal things like tires. Right?
But
tires.
No oil change.
No oil change.
Nothing with the engine.
Nothing with the engine. Haven't done it. Yeah, I mean, and one thing that my wife loves is that she can leave the AC on when it's sitting.
Okay.
Because, especially even when it's 100 degrees out. I remember when I was younger and my dad would yell at us, "Turn the AC off, it's 100 degrees out and you're not running the car," because it'll overheat.
Oh, got it.
Right? Because the engine's not getting cooled by the air, by the wind, and so the car will overheat. But with an EV, leave the car and the AC on even when it's 100 degrees out. It's fine. That's my wife loves that. And the technology it's just uncomparable. Even the early EVs that we bought when no one else had an EV, we had an EV. I mean, it drove itself. The door opens for you. The technology is just now all the other companies are somewhat catching up with autonomous driving and technology, but in the beginning Tesla was heads and shoulders above everybody else. So I mean that's why I like the EV.
And you like the speed too.
I like the speed too.
That torque, huh? Yeah, take off. Yeah. You got excited.
Yeah.
You have any other announcements or anything you want to say before we wrap up?
Announcements. Yeah, well, just to promote the opportunity.
Yep.
Promote the opportunity that if you're out there and you're looking for an opportunity to make some extra income, residual income, extra income that will come every month, and you're willing to do some training, you're willing to listen and learn and put yourself out there, like Roosevelt said. He said that you get 9 no's but that one yes is waiting. Napoleon Hill in Think and Grow Rich, he said the person with most no's is the one who wins, right?
Sure.
And you got to come into the opportunity, kind of knowing that you're going to get beat up a little bit because this is such a new industry. I remember when I first went into solar, it was the same thing. Most of the people I talked to, they didn't want solar. They didn't think it would work.
Right.
And that was a long time ago. Now everyone knows how it works, and it's not that hard to sell solar, but we're in that early stage. But when it's early, that's where the real opportunity is. And the other opportunity for the people that come work with us is they're going to have ownership opportunity as far as stocks go. So that's the other thing.
So you're a 1040 employee, and you work on your own terms?
1099.
Or 1099?
1099.
Okay.
You work you're just basically a contractor on commission.
Okay. And no minimum production because it's on you.
No minimum production.
And then you guys give them training.
Correct.
So you don't need any experience.
Correct.
And that's changing lives. And then if they sign up a building or something, they have a chance for revenue from that building for life.
For life.
That's sick. And it's
That's
not MLM.
Stop saying that. Stop saying that word, Nakia.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah, well, Rudy, man, I want to definitely been inspired. Can you please share with our listeners how to contact you, the website, IG?
Right. So if you're interested in the opportunity to sell, the email to email to is contact@chargingzoo.com.
Okay.
And we have an assistant that she's actually incredible. She's very organized. She'll get your email. Just say, I'm interested in the opportunity, and she'll set you up with the onboarding paperwork, and then we'll start scheduling some training.
Absolutely. All right. Well, please give us some encouraging words. Some visionary words from the great Rudy.
Let's see some visionary words. I have a favorite verse in the Bible. It's Romans 8:28. It says, "All things come together for good for those who love God and are called to His purpose." And you don't even need to be Christian to believe in something like that. All you got to think to yourself is, what does that really mean? Is that bad things can happen to you in life, but you can use those bad things and translate them to learning, translate them to education, translate them to building what your knowledge base so that you can move forward and turn that bad thing into something good in the future. All things come together for good for those who are called, who love God and are called to His purpose. You got to find your own purpose. Once you find your purpose, and you can take all that bad stuff, all the tragedies in your life, and apply them to your future decisions, your future roads, and turn those bad things into good.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man, we don't take losses, we take lessons.
That's right.
Well, with that note, we'll close out the episode. This is episode 42. Thank you so much for being on the show. I definitely appreciate you taking the time out your day to come be with us.
Thanks for having me.
Man, big love. I look more to hearing and seeing more, about you and your company. And I actually see it, taking over because it's cutting edge. And that's one thing, that's one of my superpowers. I'm a visionary.
Right.
So you up to it, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah, so for everybody out there who want to get new followers and continue to grow the channel, so please like and subscribe.
Yep.
And in the words of Dr. Dre, just chill till the next episode. Peace.
Peace.
Are y'all excited? Yeah. Are y'all excited? Yeah. Get excited, man. We got some treats for y'all coming up. Jerseys is on the way.
African American Heritage Game. Several schools at this from Southeast San Diego. Morse there, Kearney there, Gompers Academy out there. The goal, have kids in the community get an opportunity to attend a Major League Baseball game, especially if they can't afford to get out there or the family dynamics prevent them.
Able to work and identify sponsors to be able to raise funds to get these students to the game. And a lot of these funds actually came out of my pocket because this is the need in our community. So then I had to put the business in it by being solution-based. Identify a problem, provide a solution, and make a profit.